What's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again from metaltrenches.com. As always, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoy it, and hop down to the description. You can find all of our links to social media, our mailing list, and of course, our Patreon and Subscribe star. But I am very excited today to talk about the new album from Chicago blackened sludge powerhouse Lord Mantis, now reunited with vocalist Charlie Fell to follow up the critically lauded Death Mask. And this new album is called Universal Death Church. If you're not familiar with Lord Mantis, I'd recommend them for fans of Indian, Wallowing, and Sloth Herder, which for some of you that probably doesn't even provide any more frame of reference, because those are all just excellent other underground groups. And if you're not aware of any of them, I would say go check them out now, because this is where it's at when it comes to blackened sludge. Now, full disclosure, Charlie and I have become pretty good friends over the past few years, so I may be a little biased talking about this album. That said, given the level of hype, my massive love for Death Mask, and seeing these songs evolve from cell phone recordings to studio masters, my expectations have most certainly been met, if not exceeded. True to the band's mission statement, Universal Death Church is another hemorrhaging orifice of blood, pus, and pure vitriol. It would probably be more appropriate to compare this release to Violator, given its somewhat faster pace and overall structure, but there are still those waves of bileful sludge chords that personified instant classics like Possession Prayer. Now, first and foremost, as much as I enjoy Dylan's work with Indian and on the Nice Teeth Whore EP, I am glad to have Charlie back on Vox, because quite honestly, when it comes to just spitting that pure bile, few can compete with his particular brand of tortured whales. Just listen to his hacking regurgitations on Damocles Falls. And then, of course, all the better to hear them featured side by side on Flesh World. You've got these two just massive voices that are just absolutely disgusting. But then right at the top of the album, Santa Muerte sets the tone with a truly harrowing mantra of repetitious, blackened snarls. God's Animal follows suit with insidious earworm power chord progressions, pounding drums, and rumbling bass. This is a band that has clearly been through the ringer when it comes to internal conflict, addiction, and the untimely passing of former drummer Bill Baumgartner. And all of that pain and torment comes through on Universal Death Church. And much like Death Mask, this album knows how to vary up the pacing and mood. After another raging first half, Cliphatic Alpha transitions to pure sorrow with melancholic doom melodies. Charlie even seems to be on the verge of tears belting out his lines on this particular song. This slower, more methodical approach continues into Consciousness Exe, with stuttering guitars and dense atmosphere suffocating every single syllable. Also, the cobalty spoken word meets acoustic of low entropy Narcosis, and of course the droning brass-infused misery of closing track Hole. It's something I'd expect to hear while floating down the river Styx. So really, when it comes down to it, when I'm asked to share the most evil, depraved sounding music to ever cross my path, Lord Mantis continues to top that list. Their unholy union of sludge and black metal is unmatched when it comes to bad mood music. If disdain and bitterness had a soundtrack, Universal Death Church would be it. I was honored to be amongst the first to hear it, and I implore you to buy a copy this instant. I give Universal Death Church a 10 for enjoyability. This is an album that just got better and better with every single listen. There were certain tracks, especially in the first half, that I loved from the start. And then there are tracks later on that just sort of grew and continue to grow every single time I put it on. I give it a 9 for musicianship. Musicianship's hard to judge when it comes to sludge, because in the pantheon of kind of metal music in general, I wouldn't necessarily give this a 9. But it seems unfair to rate sludge in such a way, because it's just by design supposed to be kind of a more simplistic, streamlined approach. And so within the realm of sludge, I would say that this is very well composed, great performances, very interesting too. And then in terms of innovation, I actually am going to give these guys an 8. I was toying with a 7 for a long time, but ultimately, this is a relatively unique sounding album within the genre. Like, there are some elements to it that definitely stand out in the kind of broader spectrum of all the different sludge bands out there. And I also hear them kind of trying new things, experimenting with new sounds. Nothing too over the top or strange that's really going to leap out at you, but enough to warrant them getting that extra point. So overall, they end up with a nice solid 9, A-. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being one of my favorite albums of the year. And that'll do it. That's my quick opinion of Universal Death Church. If you want to hear more about the album or about Charlie in particular, I've done 2 different interviews with him on the podcast now. One focused more so on sort of the build up to the album and the writing process and some of the things that were going on at that time. And then another one more specifically regarding his experience with addiction. So you can definitely check out those. I'll have them on the end screen. But once more, if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Press that subscribe button. Like the video if you enjoy it. Share it with others. Follow us on the social media of your choice. Get on that email list. It's the easiest way to make sure that every single Friday you're not forgetting about the new content that's popping up on the site every single day. And of course, please, if you're a continuing viewer, a continuing listener, you just feel like we're giving you what you want, like we're feeding you your metal diet that you're looking for specifically, then please consider contributing even just $1 a month to the Patreon or Subscribe Star. Links to all that down in the description. But for now, this is Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.